All right, third hour of the Elias Macko Show. Now, perhaps you got some bad news over the holidays. Perhaps you received an eviction notice from your landlord. Now, if your lease ends on July 1st, the deadline for your landlord to notify you of an eviction was December 31st. And if you got that eviction notice, I imagine you're thinking, now what? With more, we go to Arnold Bennett, housing advocate extraordinaire. Arnold, always a pleasure. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, Arnold, let's talk about this. Let's say you got a notice July 1st. What do you do?
Let's make it clear, first of all, these 6-month notices do not apply to evictions for bad behavior or non-payment of rent. Those go to court almost immediately.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you don't get a 6-month notice. You don't get compensation or anything for that.
Gotcha.
Okay, now let's get back to what the government's actually talking about, which, by the way, is going to be the last time those rules apply. They're being changed probably around the end of January.
And this is the Bill 31 you're referring to, right? Yeah, that proposed bill. Okay, so let's go. Let's do the current rules, and maybe we can touch on what's being proposed. Why don't we do that?
Current rules, repossession in order to put in the landlord personally, or a parent or a child. No other relatives allowed, except in very, very limited circumstances. That's 6 months' notice before the end of the lease. So, if somebody's got a September lease, the deadline will be different. Mm-hmm. If somebody's got a May lease, they were already past the deadline. That's number one. People should refuse the repossession, even if they think the landlord's in good faith, because the tribunal will award compensation to the tenant. Now, how much is that compensation? Well, under the current law, it's discretionary, and it works out to approximately 2 months' rent.
Gotcha.
But there could be more. For example, if somebody's got a disability and they need packing, they could get more than 2 months' rent. They could get packing expenses.
Okay.
They could get leasehold improvement expenses. These are all things that have been in the law forever. Now, what's going to change when the government adopts the new law?
Yeah.
The landlord will have to pay 1 month's rent for every year of occupancy up to 24 months.
Oh, okay. So that could be perceived as a good change, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine
that's the good change as opposed to the bad change everybody's been talking about.
The lease transfers is the bad change, right?
That's
that we're
correct.
talking about. Okay.
Now,
Gotcha.
the other thing that people have to remember is they might get a notice from the landlord, the 6-month notice, saying you have to leave because I want to subdivide or combine apartments, or because I want to convert to commercial use. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This can be contested, but it's not enough to give a refusal under the current law. You must apply to the tribunal to do an opposition within 1 month.
Okay.
If you don't do that, you got a big problem. And the compensation is different. Under the current law, 3 months' rent plus moving expenses.
Okay.
Under the new law, again, 1 month's rent for every year of one month's rent for every year of occupancy, up to 24 months.
Well, that to me, because I know people, they've been in the same apartment for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, even more. And if you can give a landlord a moment of pause before they'll try and force someone out because they know someone's been there for 2 decades, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a major disincentive for kicking out senior citizens, who, by the way, also, even under the existing law, have a certain protection. You cannot repossess a senior citizen who has been there over 10 years, who is over 70 years old, and who has an income below a certain level. Gotcha. Unless the person moving in is also a senior citizen.
We're with Arnold Bennett, housing advocate. We're talking about eviction notices and some other tenant issues. Now, Arnold, I just want to reiterate, the amount of time. You have 30 days to refuse an eviction. You say no matter what, you should be refusing, so it goes to the tribunal. You can get what is due to you. Just how does a tenant? But can I just ask you, and you can correct anything you need to correct. Like, how does do I have to send a registered letter? Can I do it via email? Because I know what would keep a lot of people from going through it is if it's too difficult to refuse. So what's the easiest way that's legal?
You could do, in the case of a repossession, even not answering is the same as refusing. It's not like a rent increase.
Okay.
However, we recommend responding so that the landlord could not lie and claim there was a verbal agreement.
Okay.
So an email would be all right.
Okay.
Now, email is considered to be a valid form of delivery, but just like registered mail, you must prove the other side got the notice.
Mm-hmm.
That would be particularly in a case where you have to prove delivery. And by the way, again, I can't stress enough, for these combination subdivisions and commercial conversions, under the current law, the tenant still must go to court, to the tribunal, and do an opposition within 1 month.
Gotcha.
Okay, if they don't do that, they're going to have a big problem.
And finish your thought, Arnold?
Well, the other thing that I should point out is that people have been getting notices from landlords who want to sell a building, telling them they have to get out. This is totally illegal. The only person who has the right to repossess is the person who owns the building who's taking it over.
Gotcha.
And they had to have that sale go through by the end of December. So I had a case recently where the the landlord knew he was selling the building, knew the sale wouldn't go through, offered the tenant $20,000 as compensation up front.
Wow.
Which was still less than she would get under the new law, so she's refusing.
Okay, gotcha. And Arnold, before I let you go, new law, Bill 31, which looks like it eventually will go through. Why don't you just tell us about the subletting and the changes there, the changes that are proposed?
Okay. So under the new law, the government, this is very controversial and people are objecting strongly. The government wants to allow landlords to refuse a assignment or transfer of lease, which is not a sublet. Okay.
Yeah.
Because at the end of a sublet, a landlord can terminate if it lasts longer than a year. But on a transfer of lease, it's like the new tenant takes over all the rights and the same rent. So the government wants to allow the landlords to refuse an assignment of lease. Now, would that mean that the original tenant would have to stay there? No. It means if the landlord refuses the assignment, if the original tenant just wants to get out, they can get out, no penalty.
Uh-huh.
But it causes a big problem for people who want to be able to move in, whose friend or relative is trying to do them a favor. Landlords would be able to refuse that. Under the current law, a landlord cannot refuse without a serious reason. Under the new law, if it passes, they would not have to give any reason and would get away with it. Now, what's the problem there? The government is claiming, the poor owner, doesn't want to be forced to have somebody living upstairs that he doesn't like. Yeah, well, what happens is, who doesn't he like? Maybe he doesn't like black people. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't like gay people. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't like people of another religion. So basically, the government is creating a license to commit discrimination.
And I've heard those concerns, Arnold. I know there's been a tremendous amount of pushback, and it remains to be seen if they'll stick with that part of this bill, right? Because they're not a very popular government right now.
No, they certainly aren't. They've been able to act with impunity for the last few years, but now everything's starting to blow up in their face. And this, by the way, is not only something that's being opposed by tenant groups. There were at least 12 Quebec municipalities that took positions against this change in the law.
Arnold, it's always fascinating to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Our listeners appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
That's housing advocate Arnold Bennett.